Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today at the Transitioning from the Military into a New Career webinar that we are doing today. This is part of our Job Search Basics series. Job Search Basics series will be 1 hour, 45-minute to 1 hour webinars where we talk about a topic that's very popular with our students and alumni, things that we hear about all the time. As you might imagine, here at AMU and APU, we do have a lot of transitioning military members and veterans, including myself. I am a veteran of the Marine Corps, and I'm also a military spouse. Well, he's retired now, but still, military spouse. So I've lived that life on both sides. I am a certified career coach, and I have been career coaching here at AMU for 9 years now. So it's been a lot of fun. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So if any of you all are part of my industry, I hope that I get to work with you guys in the future. Okay. So just the housekeeping part, like is always done at the beginning of a webinar. How do we expect things to go? Like I said briefly before, I am going to be spending most of this time talking and presenting to you all. I have Meredith, my handy career coach partner extraordinaire, is going to be working on the administrative side. She will be dropping links that I bring up in here into the chat so that you guys can go ahead and capture them. Please do capture them, but don't navigate to those pages during the webinar. I want to make sure that you get all of the information that I have to share with you today. And like I said, afterwards, if you do have some questions or you want some clarifications, please do reach out to us at careerservices@apus.edu. All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. I will try to return to those later, and or Meredith may be able to answer them during the time. However, I do want to be able to get through all of the content today because this is a high-level overview of how to start, continue wherever you are in the transition process, how to be looking at that next career. Okay. So it will, I'm covering a lot, like I said, and there are other webinars and resources that we have that will do deep dives on each of these individual topics. So know that those are available. Presumably you found the registration for this in CareerLink. CareerLink is the place to be. Okay, please look under the resources tab, look under the events, which is under the community tab. That's where you found this one. We have lots of resources available for you guys to use, even when we coaches are not available. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. So today we are going to be talking about that transitioning to a career outside of the military, okay? So I like to start with a timeline because that is a very popular question that I get asked, and my other coaches as well. When should we start looking? Okay, no later than 1 year out from your EAS, ETS, if you can. Okay, that's not always the case. My own transition story, I found out on a Monday that yes, in fact, I was getting out on Saturday. And like the young 23-year-old E4 that I was at the time, I did not do a whole lot to prep for that transition. And I don't want that to happen to you all. Okay. So no later than 1 year out if you can start that. But no matter where you are today towards your transition, start. Okay. Collect, if you're still active duty right now, collect your fit reps, your award citations, any other paperwork that you received while you were active duty that detailed your accomplishments, your achievements, your service. If you did volunteer projects, I know many of us volunteer while we're active duty, things like that, okay? Collect all of those things because they may come in handy for resume content, for mental reference back during an interview, things like that, okay? So hang on to those fit reps, hang on to those award citations. Those are going to be important for you, okay? Some of you, I mean, presumably all of you at this point have all selected your degree, but sometimes we wonder, do we need to change it? How do we find that out? How do we figure out, is my degree going to do what I want it to do, okay? The answers to that lie in research, okay? And in the next few slides, I'm going to go through some research for you all to do so that that can help you to find that answer out for yourself, okay? But I want to mention it here as well because, yes, some people may be thinking about changing their degree. They may be thinking, you know what, maybe I am better off at a brick and mortar institution versus online. So that's why we talk about this here, okay? So consider the timeline, the methodology, and things like that so that you can continue on your path towards completing your education, okay? And career change. Some of you may not want to do what you did in the military, and that is totally okay. But then where do you start, right? You may have questions about that. That is also going to take some research, and that's absolutely something we can help you out with here as well. And I'm going to go into some of that research to do now. But if anybody has any remaining questions once we're done with that, definitely pop them into the chat, okay? Let's see. Sorry, my mouse went to sleep. There we go. All right, research. Beginning this topic, kind of overall big thing, and then I'm going to go into some more details about it, and then we'll move on, okay? If you are just starting, not just starting, no matter where you are, please create a filing system, okay? However your brain likes to see things, however your brain likes to group things together, please create a filing system, okay? Especially if you find yourself in the position of applying to a lot of different places all at once or over a period of time. Sometimes, and I've talked to students, so I'm not making this up, sometimes you get a response back from somebody inviting you to an interview and you don't know where you're interviewing at, or maybe what the job was, okay? So you definitely want to keep track of all of this information, however you function best keeping track of that, okay? Search the job market in your desired area. And I do say area because, you may leave wherever you're currently stationed, right? And return to wherever home is, or maybe your spouse's home or something like that. Become familiar with the job market in that area, okay? So that does it have major industries? Are there industries that you work in that maybe aren't there at all? I am here in Arizona. I don't think this is where we come to get lots of logs. Okay, so that's a for instance. So you definitely want to know about the job market in your target area. Don't forget about those smaller employers. Yes, it can be easy to look at the large employers and, oh, they're large and they have lots of positions available. Smaller employers, mid-sized companies, they would be just as eager to get you, if not more so. So please do consider the smaller employers as well, all right? Some of the resources you can use at this stage, and honestly, basically through the whole thing, but especially now, are the Occupational Outlook Handbook and Career One Stop. And I'm going to talk about these two in a little bit more detail right now. I just want to hit also on business section of local media for those of you who may just be listening in and not actually reading the screen. That's okay. But the business section of your local media. So again, the area where you want to end up in, you want to look at the business section, not just, the classifieds, do they have open jobs or something? You want to start following it. They're going to talk about the industries in the area. They're going to talk about if X employer got a major contract or these people were merging or something like that. That's important because when you go into an interview, you can mention things like that to demonstrate your genuine interest in the company and in the mission. Okay. So definitely keep an eye on the business section of the local media. Reach out to the Chamber of Commerce as well. They often host events for maybe it's a home improvement event, but they also have here's small businesses getting together and networking and things like that. No matter what the event is, think of it as a networking opportunity. Okay. So do consider attending some of those events that the Chamber of Commerce has. Some of them may also have a directory that you could join or flip through, something like that. So don't miss out on the Chamber of Commerce. Okay. So like I said, I was going to go into the Occupational Outlook and Career One Stop. Okay, these are two different websites. The Occupational Outlook Handbook is developed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So I want to make you all aware that what you see on there in any of the resources I recommend today that are outside of AMU, the information you receive there is based off of the United States population as a whole, the averages and who they pulled from that. It is not just AMU and APU students and alumni, okay? So I just want to be transparent about that because it's important that you realize where data comes from, no matter what it is and what you're using it for, okay? So the Occupational Outlook Handbook by the Bureau of Labor Statistics is very helpful because that gives you kind of an introduction to what does this job do? What does it normally look like? What does it take to become one? There's lots of information there. They also have something like career clusters. So if you maybe want to do something similar to the job you're doing right now, or maybe in the same industry, but not exactly what you're doing right now, that can be a way to find out what else is involved. Okay. Occupational Outlook Handbook, super helpful. Career One Stop, also very, very helpful. Okay, in the Marine Corps, we always say they write it in crayon. Okay, so that's the Career One Stop page. They have it based on what type of job searcher you are. Are you looking for apprenticeships? They have military information on there. Also for spouses. So I know today we're talking about transitioning out of the military, and we're talking more about the person who's making the transition, but spouses are transitioning out as well. Spouses need new jobs, need networks and things like that. That information is also available with Career One Stop. Okay, so definitely check it out. So those are some of the places that you can go to begin your job search, your job search research. This is one of the ways that you can either expand or narrow that search. Okay. So if you don't know what job titles are out there, and that's common, right? Like I want to be in security, but I don't want to be a security guard, but I don't know what else there is in security. How do I find this out? You can do it this way. This is one of many ways to do it. Okay. So let's say you do find that job title that you like, security guard. We'll just go with that because that's what I brought up. I would then want you to search for security guard across different websites and across different employers. Okay, so gathering those job descriptions, multiple job descriptions for security guard, make sure that they're at the same type and level. Okay, so one may call them a security guard. What I'm mentioning here, with they can be different with employers. The names, okay? One can be called a security guard, the other one may be security professional or access control specialist or something, which is also another very popular job title. So that's why I say make sure that the jobs that you are comparing against each other are about the same type and level so that the information that you get out of it makes actual sense to you, okay? If you want to expand job titles, if you want to look at what else is involved, onetonline.org. Okay, and I believe Meredith should be dropping a link in for that one as well. ONET, like I said before, is based off of the United States population as a whole, not just AMU, APU students and alumni. Okay, you can go on ONET and do a lot of career research. You can do a lot of career search activities and stuff like that. ONET is also part of or partners with Bureau of Labor Statistics. The information that you get on there is very valuable. Okay, it also goes into what types of, what degree might you need to have? What does a normal day look like in this job? Things of that nature. Okay, the reason I have it on this slide is because at the top of it, let's say you put that security guard in there, at the top of the response you get is going to be sampled job titles. So it can give you just different job titles to go and search. So you're not just putting security guard in everywhere and getting the same responses all the time. So that can be one of the places that you look. Job boards. So looking at the university job board, looking at whatever your favorite job board is, if it's Indeed, if it's ZipRecruiter or something else, looking at LinkedIn, looking at those job titles. Again, what are different things called, and capture that information. You can search by so I said general, I said CareerLink is our job board. Again, presumably you guys have all, been into CareerLink. That's how you got this website or this webinar. CareerLink, you can search in there as well, according to job title, industry, things of that nature, okay? Industry specific job boards can be something, for instance, ACES International. Okay. ACES International is a large security professional organization. So those individuals involved in security, risk management, all of those things. Okay. ACES International. They are lovely in that they leave their job board viewable to the public. You don't have to be a member to see their job board. I coach my students to go look at the job board, and it doesn't matter where those jobs are. What matters at that point is you are using that job board to see what does the security industry consider a security industry job. So that can be a way that you can figure out different job titles as well, different avenues to take, different approaches, different career tracks. So that can be one way that you also use that information. And then LinkedIn again as well. All right, let's move on. Qualifications. Okay, so you can search according to job title. You can also search according to qualifications. I broke that down even more. So degree, you can search by degree. Even on usajobs.gov, you can go in and search according to the degree that you have, or the theme of your degree, the industry of your degree, and you can see what jobs come up that way. You may also be able to search by license or certification. If you are in a role that either already requires a license or certification, or you know that you are pursuing one, you're about to get one, you're almost done with it, you can look up jobs just according to that, just what license is needed. Okay. I do want to take a moment though, and you see certificate versus certification on here. This is very important. This is a very common misconception. A university certificate program is not a professional certification. Okay. At a university, you take 6 or 9 courses or whatever that is an academic deep dive into that topic so that you can learn more about it and it is helpful to your career. However, it is not a certification. In order to sit for a certification exam, you have to have X number of hours of work experience already doing that thing. You usually have to sit for a test that's usually proctored. Okay. It may need a renewal in a few years. It may be lifetime. Certifications are different. So it does matter the difference between a certificate and a certification. So that's my plug on that one. You can look according to state requirements. Okay, that's also something that you do want to become familiar with because every state has different requirements, especially for something that requires a certification or a license. So definitely check that out. Go to their .gov website, whatever they have, whatever the professional organization who's in charge of that license or certification, go to the source to find out that information. Onward to Opportunity. I have that mentioned here. That is something done through the Institute for Veteran and Military, IBMF, Military Families at Syracuse University. It is a training program that you can sign up for. And at the end of it, assuming that you have done all of the training and passed all the training, you may have the opportunity to sit for a certification exam in an industry, so an industry certification. So definitely check out Onward to Opportunity. That could be very great for you all. This is also open to spouses. Okay, so this is not just active duty and or transitioning and or veteran, however we want to say it. You can search jobs according to experience as well. We had an employee here there for a little while. She found her job here with us by looking for jobs according to being able to use Canva and whatever that light software thing is that people do with photos and stuff like, I'm drawing a blank, but you guys know what I'm talking about, okay? She put that in there as a search topic. And that opened up a whole world of different jobs. So if you have a specific type of experience, if you have a specific talent or it's something you're able to do, you may be able to look for jobs according to that to expand that out. So how can you get more? Well, let me touch on transferable experience. There's direct transferable experience. I was a banker in the whatever, and now I'm going to be a banker outside. But there's also transferable. There's indirectly transferable experience. Okay. So I worked in X role. I had to write reports on the TPS and yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera. Over here, it's not the same role at all, but there is report writing. It's on a different topic, but it's still report writing and you know how to do that. That is a indirect transferable skill. I bring this up because many of you should be writing resumes and that is also something we see commonly. We as human beings tend to think of our job as not extraordinary or that's just Tuesday. I have to do that every Tuesday, things like that. From the hiring perspective, the resume content perspective, things like that are more important. So do be open-minded about what you can consider as qualifications in your experience. So getting on to getting more. If you find through the research you're doing, comparing those job descriptions and looking at what those employers are asking for, and maybe you're falling short a little bit, here are some suggestions for getting more experience. If you're still in, you may be able to do a lat move or take on a billet or a project or do some program management, something like that. That could be something that you could do. For you spouses with your employer as well, same thing. Maybe you can be on a committee. Maybe you can be in a different department for a little while. That's how you can get experience. There's internships, fellowships, apprenticeships. You can go to careeronestop.org, like I shared before. That can be a place to look those up. You can look up many of those as well on our job board in CareerLink for the internships and the jobs, things like that. SkillBridge. And Meredith should be sharing some links for those as well. I want you guys to grab all of these links because they may be something you're interested in. Again, please don't navigate over there. Let's stay here, and then you can go search it later. SkillBridge. SkillBridge, many of you have probably already heard of. It is an opportunity if you qualify, and you have to do all the qualifications and jumping through the hoops, right? And get command approval and all those things. But if you qualify, you could, in your last 180 days on active duty, be working in an internship at a private employer. And you would be paid by the military. You're still getting your military paycheck, but you are not putting on camis every day. You are going to go work for a private employer. SkillBridge can be phenomenal. PMF program for graduate level students and above. Definitely check out PMF program. Depending on when you complete your graduate degree, you may have 3 years of eligibility for that. Okay, but that definitely depends on the dates. Okay, so definitely look it up. AWS here is Amazon Web Services. Vet Tech by Skillstorm is also a very popular, very well heard of training program for our veterans as well, for that employment prospects outside of the military. And then, of course, gig work and volunteering. Most employers do not, even the federal government. So if any of you have been on usajobs.gov lately and you've been looking at things and they want experience related to, equivalent to things like that, employers generally don't care whether you got paid for your experience. They want to know, do you have the experience? That's it. So if you are questioning, do I put gig work or volunteering on my resume? If it is relevant to the position and or the company, and it happened within the last 10 years, I'm going to say yes. Okay. Work with a coach. We can go into it in more detail that way, but blanket statement, I'm going to say yes. Okay. Definitely put it on there if it's relevant and it qualifies you. So let's talk about resumes. Again, high level overview because we do not have the time today to go through all the details. I do a monthly presentation on federal resume content generation. My next one is actually on the 18th at noon Eastern time. So just know that here at Career Services, we do provide other opportunities for more of a deep dive. Okay. Again, under that resources tab in Career Link, that's also where you can find more information on resumes, cover letters, and the like. So, crafting your resume, private sector versus federal. This is important, and this is why it's number one, because you cannot use one resume type for the other's job application. Okay. You cannot use a private sector resume, and I mean it's formatted like a private sector resume. It's 1 to 2 pages for a federal position and be confident that you're going to be moved forward because the private sector resume is missing details that is required in the federal application process. So if you've been applying to usajobs.gov and you're not getting any traction and you're using a 2-page resume and or you've never heard of the federal format or something like that, I have maybe good news. It's probably your resume. So once we get that kind of figured out and straightened out, you may be getting more calls back. Okay. Private versus federal are very, very different. And on the flip side, you can't use a federal for a private sector. There's too much information. They're not going to want to read it. You just can't. Okay. I have FBI here because many of my students, they go out and they look for a federal resume, and the FBI actually puts up a federal resume format and a guide and everything for the FBI for applying to the FBI. I don't know if you could use those for applications to other federal positions. I generally tell my students not to because I've never heard one way or the other, and I don't want that to be the reason that you're not getting selected. Okay, so the FBI has a very specific format. Most of it applies to federal resumes at large. You might be able to use it, but if you're my student or alum, I'm going to tell you not to. Okay. So, how do you determine which one? If you are applying to a U.S. government agency, it is a federal resume. If you are applying to a federal contractor to work on a contract with a U.S. government agency, it is not a federal resume. It is a private sector resume. So, if you are applying to an agency directly, federal resume. If you are not, probably a private sector resume. It's the easiest, simplest way to do that. Okay. For my military members, I do see it's very, very common for you to put like 10 years of experience, and then you have 6 bullet points or something like that. I know darn well that you didn't spend 10 years in the same job, in the same billet, at the same duty station, doing the same thing. So what you're doing is you're hobbling yourself and you're not showing us the progression of your responsibilities, your experience. Maybe you did something different. Maybe there's a billet there that picked up more. Break it up according to billet or duty station. Whichever works best for your personal career journey, break it up according to that so that you can show that progression of responsibilities and experience. Don't go back further than 10 years. This applies to both private sector and federal resumes, just because even if, yes, it is applicable, have things changed in the industry in the last 10 years that makes that less relevant or obsolete completely. So keep that in mind, okay? We do still want to stay, whether it's private or federal, I know I'm repeating myself, 10 years and sooner where we can. There are maybe some rare circumstances where something older, yes, put it in there. But when we're talking about experience, stay within the last 10 years. Refer to those fit reps I mentioned at the beginning. Those are going to help you with generating content, with generating your accomplishment statements. Okay, you want accomplishments and achievements. And this is also important whether we're talking about private sector or federal. Many, many times people assume, and they may not even realize, I'm sure they don't, but people's resumes tend to be filled with duties and responsibilities. And especially on the federal side, because I know they say that duties and responsibilities. I understand that. However, accomplishments and achievements carry so much more weight and make so much stronger of an impact. Please focus most of your content on your accomplishments and your achievements. Did you mentor somebody? Did you save money? Did you improve sales year over year? Accomplishments and achievements. This is also, side note, how you can show soft skills, leadership, rather than saying really good leader, superb leader, something like that. Led 15-man team through blah, 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 et cetera, numbers, dollars, things like that makes so much more of an impact. It also makes your content objective rather than subjective. You're not telling me you're really good at something and then I have to just believe you. You're demonstrating it so that I can decide how equivalent is that experience to what I need. Accomplishments and achievements. All right. Yes. Okay. And then master version versus tailoring. When you are gathering all those job descriptions and you're comparing and contrasting and you're looking at what all or most of them have, that's the initial content of your resume. Put that stuff on there. Whatever they are asking for, those 7 to 10 job descriptions, they have a bunch of things in common. Start there. That's where you want to start with your resume content, okay? Make a master resume. Even if we're talking private sector and that master resume ends up 4 pages long, it does not matter because when you go to apply, you are going to tailor your resume, make it specific to that employer, talk about what that employer wants to know about you and how awesome you are at doing it. And then you can cut out the rest that they may not necessarily need to see. This also is where, if you keep in mind, if you have a LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn profile has all that information on there. Your resume is a marketing document. It's short, it's succinct. Your LinkedIn profile can have everything. It can have everything you've done. If you put your LinkedIn URL up at the top, the interested employers can go look. So they're going to see it anyway. Okay. So your private sector 2-page resume needs to be 2 pages of your best stuff. And just know that like your medium best stuff can still be seen on LinkedIn. Okay. Let's see. Oh, ribbons and medals. I do want to touch on this. Also very popular in this group. If you received a unit citation, congratulations. But resume wise, it doesn't really help an employer determine how you are going to best fit with their company. If you received a personal award for, let's say, good conduct, we all know that a good conduct medal is you just didn't get caught, right? Those early years, okay? Good conduct medal is, again, it's not really going to, me, the employer at IBM or something, it's not going to go, oh, neat, for 3 years he behaved. Or what, I mean, I'm not even really going to know what that means, okay? If you are going to share a ribbon, a medal, another award, a CIRCOM, a letter of recommendation, anything like that, include a short blurb about why. Okay, what did you do? And think about it from the employer's perspective. So what did you do from an employer's perspective who's thinking about hiring you that would convince him or her to ask you in for an interview? So don't list all of your ribbons and medals. Make that very selective, and it needs to come with some sort of explanation why you got it. Because otherwise, you might as well use wingdings. That's all the value it has there. If they don't know what it means, they can't appreciate what you're telling them. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. So this is also a very popular topic. So I guess all of my slides today are going to be popular topics during the transition. Okay. Translating military terms. You hear that and you might go, okay, intellectually, I know it means this, but what else? Right? Yes, it means automatically what we think of. Like 31E, I did receive a resume one time that had that on there. I had to go and look it up, even though I'm a Marine. We don't do our MOS codes like that. But even if a Marine came to me and had, I don't know, 2732, I don't know what that is. That doesn't help me, even as a veteran. That is not going to help your maybe never touch the military in any way future employer. So translate it over into something that they can understand, into something that is civilian equivalent, non-military equivalent. Same thing with billets, like platoon sergeant, you are a supervisor, unit lead, manager, something like that. Make it make sense. If you talk about units or units, I was the brigade, blah, blah, blah. People outside the military don't know how big a brigade is. You could say, I was the yada yada for a 5,000 person organization. That's different. Now they know what it is. So that's what we mean by translating. Okay. Also, connotations. And it is the nature of the military. That is what you're doing, is going into conflicts and creating peace and things like. I understand. I really, really do. But we don't want to talk about enemy and combatants and hostile things that have that negative connotation. In the resume, your resume is for business. It's for your job. It's for the next thing you're going to do. We don't want to pull certain connotations into that. Ultimately, if we think about the reader's experience psychologically for your resume, we want the whole experience to be positive. So we're not going to mention anything with a negative connotation, or maybe address something you feel you're weak in. We're not going to say that. We're putting all our good stuff on the resume. We want the whole experience to be positive. And finally, acronyms. We know the military is full of them, and then they're all different depending on which branch you're in or duty station or whatever. Just as much as that's hard for you to keep in your head, it is for people who've never touched the military. So just like you do when you're writing for university, the first time you use an acronym in your resume, spell it out and put the acronym in parentheses afterwards. And then after that, go ahead and use the acronym. But the first time you use it, please do spell it out. Again, we want clarity. If they don't understand it, they can't appreciate it, you might as well have used wingdings. Okay? We want them to understand why what you're saying is significant. Let's see, let's move on for some resources for resume building. So resume guides are available under the resources tab in Career Link. It's, I believe, still the first one up there, resumes and cover letters. That's where you can go. So I'm not having Meredith share links for every single one of these, because in that resource field, we have all of this information there for you. Okay, all of these links to Hiration. Hiration is a software that we have partnered with to help people with starting and constructing their private sector resumes. You can go in there and you have AI even help you to build better bullet points. It already has formats that you can choose from. It does allow you to choose color. Here at AMU APU, we recommend you do not use color on your resume for a more professional appearance. So yes, it does allow you to do that, but please just use black. Resume Builder USA Jobs webinars. Okay, with everything that's going on right now with the government, those webinars have been pulled back. They are not currently on the events page, but I still included them here because I assume that they're coming back at some point. Wonderful, wonderful webinars. Again, written in crayon. Make it super easy to understand what they're trying to share with you. Those webinars can be on how to write and tailor your content on a federal resume. They had them on how to search USA jobs, because there's way more ways to search than you might be thinking of. They have hiring fairs. They have information sessions. The events page on USA Jobs is to be watched. It's a very good place to go for a lot of good information that is coming straight from the people who would know. So when those come back, please do check for those. As I already said before, I also host a monthly How to Do Your Federal Resume Content webinar or group coaching session. So we just come in and as many people can come in and you can talk at any time and ask your questions. And or if you are working with with your coach here at AMU APU, we're going to help you out with the federal resume as well. Okay. The resume builder is noted here because in the documents section of your usajobs.gov account is a resume builder. We absolutely emphatically recommend that you use the resume builder because it's going to take care of the format so that you can focus on tailoring the content. You can create up to 5 resumes, and none of those are searchable or viewable by anybody except for one if you choose. So you have to make it go live. Okay, so the resume builder on usajobs.gov under the documents tab in your account, super wonderful and helpful. Please use it. All right. We also, the resume review program, we also review resumes here. So even if you don't want to work directly with a coach one-on-one and we're going back and forth and stuff like that, we can still just review your resume and get it back to you if you want and go about that coaching topic if that's what you'd like to have done. All right, gonna keep moving. I'm trying to make sure we have some time for questions and answers. Networking. So we're going to touch on a new topic here, networking. Who do you network with? Coworkers right now, coworkers you had in the past. Let them know, hey, I'm transitioning. I'm getting out in April and I'm moving to New Jersey. I'm looking for a transportation logistics management job. Let me know if you hear of anything. Let me know if you have an uncle who works in the, just start letting people know. You do not know where your next opportunity is coming from. And it can be really obscure 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of stuff, but it works. That's why career services professionals harp on networking so much. So friends, family, anytime you're interacting basically with another human being and it seems socially appropriate, bring it up. You never know. Where can you network? CareerLink. Again, CareerLink is our digital career center. It's where we want you to go and do everything, all things career services outside of talking to us coaches and interacting with us. Okay. So CareerLink, you can has a community in there. So everybody that's in there, our alumni and our students and our faculty and staff, everybody that's in there, you can network with those people. You can search people in there according to different caveats, industries, experience, things like that. So CareerLink is a great place to network. LinkedIn, obviously, that's the one that we should all think of anyway, because LinkedIn is the social media of your job and your career and things like that. LinkedIn, definitely want to network there. Career fairs also. Even if a career fair may not necessarily be, if the theme of it is maybe transportation, and you might do maybe administrative assistant or project manager or something like that, still go because they're not just hiring for truck drivers or pallet movers or something like that. They're going to want other people as well, those support positions, those overall positions. And this is a great opportunity to go and meet more recruiters and make connections with them. Recruiters move around a lot in their field. So maybe they work for AT&T today, but next week or next year, they're going to work for Booz Allen Hamilton, one of your employers you want to work for. So go to career fairs when and as often as you can. And then the how here. So like I said, let them know when you're going to be separating. Ask if they know of any leads. You can even ask like, could you tell me about one more person I might want to talk to? Or maybe 2 more people, something like that. Start trying to generate those leads and then follow up with people. Ask for someone else you can connect with. Maybe take somebody out for coffee. Maybe it's just a phone call. Maybe it's just, hey, on LinkedIn, I saw your latest post about blah, blah, blah. And yeah, yada, yada. Keep these things going, maintain those connections. And it can be as simple as those small behaviors, like I was just exampling. All right, LinkedIn, because we're on the topic, okay, change your status to open to work. Join military transition groups. I mentioned Veteran Mentor Network because it's one that I am a part of. I haven't been in there in a few minutes, guys, but it is huge. It's large. The people in there are veterans, spouses, the people that know, all right? The people that know what it's like. So Veteran Mentor Network can be a great website, a great group, but there are other groups as well. Okay, so look for things that have like large populations maybe and or definitely lots of activity. Connect with or follow your target employers, their recruiters, or maybe even interest groups. Again, you don't know where that next lead is coming from. Recruiters, interest groups, things like that, they post things all the time. So you may have a step up ahead above everybody else by following those people. It also, when following the employers and things like that, gives you more information for, again, when you get into the interview and you want to talk about the company and sound like you've been around for a few minutes and you genuinely are interested. So start watching them, start following, see what they're up to. We have resources for you in that for that as well. In the Success Center, which is in the top of your eCampus, you can find the Success Center up there. You can look for LinkedIn resources. You can look for networking resources, just all of the career services resources. In CareerLink as well. I know I've already said that like 6 times. So CareerLink, yay, resources. Please go there. We have lots. And the LinkedIn Help Center is also very, very helpful. And that's a Google search, I believe, but I think I also looked up the link for Meredith to share for you guys. So one more thing that's not on here, but I'm going to say it, your picture. One, yes, you have to have a picture. You don't have to. One, yes, you should put a picture on there, okay? There's all sorts of research and data and numbers, and I don't have any of them, that says that many employers and or recruiters, when they're going through profiles, if somebody doesn't have a picture, they don't even click on it. They're not even going to look at it. And what a simple thing for you to be able to fix to make that not happen. In your picture, head and shoulders, okay? Against a boring background where something interesting isn't happening in the background. It's not a social, I know I said it's the social media of your career, but it's not social media like Facebook and TikTok and all of that stuff are. So this is not the place to be in a jersey or have your beer or something like that. So make yourself look hireable. You don't necessarily have to smile. Some people just aren't smilers, but look approachable, okay? And do not be in uniform. We want to be in business, whatever the level dress that you are going to be experiencing in your career, be in those clothes, okay? Not in uniform. We want to show that you're ready to transition. I mean, we all know sometimes people who've never been around the military kind of have some assumptions about military members and how easily they transition out and things like that. So this, again, is an easy thing for you to do. Don't be in uniform in your LinkedIn profile picture. All right, let's see. Let's keep going. Career fairs. So we talked about that a little bit. Career fairs are something that we do here at the university several times throughout the year. Our next one coming up is the Employing Those Who Serve virtual career fair. So that's good for all of you attending today. That is open to our students and alumni who are military touched in some way. I'm going to just say it like that. So veterans, active duty transitioning, and their spouses and dependents, whether they are a student or an alum with us or not. So just spread the word. If your wife or husband or son or somebody wants to participate in this virtual career fair coming up, they are welcome to do so. Career fairs, we want to prepare for them. If you've never prepared for a career fair, yes, you can absolutely do this on your own. However, if you would like to reach out to a coach and consult with one of us, we're happy to help you with that as well, okay? Research the employers ahead of time. The career fair will usually post who the employers are going to be somewhere, wherever it is, okay? We post our employers as well. You can go look for the registered employers for the Employing Those Who Serve virtual career fair right now. That's happening March 5th, but you can go and look at who's already registered. We are going to try to register a few more, so that may change, okay? And then also sometimes an employer can't show up on the day of for whatever reason. So sometimes they don't show, okay? But you want to research these employers ahead of time. Familiarize yourself with who they are. What do they do? What's their mission? What's their customer base? What jobs do they have available that you want? You do not want to go into a career fair, whether it's virtual or in person, and go, "Hi, my name's Trevor. What jobs do you have available for me?" Okay, that is not their job. Their job is to find the best possible candidates and hand those people off to the hiring manager. It's not to find Joe Schmo off the street and go through all 4,700 of their job openings and see if maybe he likes it. Okay, so it would be a good idea to know what job that they have that you are interested in that you could approach and ask them about. It could even be a job that they have in Louisiana and you live in North Carolina. Okay, you could also approach them and say, hey, do you have the blah, blah, blah position in North Carolina at any time? Do you have a recruiter in North Carolina I can talk to? Career fairs are great places to network, to grow in your industry, to learn more things. So definitely attend career fairs as often as you can. Okay. Presentation. You want to have your resume ready. You probably want a 2-page resume for a career fair, even if it is for a federal contractor, because they're at a career. They don't want to flip through 7 pages. Okay. 1 to 2 pages, private sector resume, have it ready. Your appearance as well, whatever the job is, whatever their level of dress is. Generally, when we're doing interview sorts of things and stuff like that, you want to at least be on level, if not maybe a step above. So keep that in mind as well. You want to look professional and polished. Post event, connect with the recruiter, follow up with them, find them on LinkedIn, connect with them however they said they wanted to be connected with, because sometimes it may be a little bit different. Follow up with them, check in with them every now and then. You know, if you apply to something, you definitely want to let them know, hey, Steve, I applied to blah, blah, blah. Here's my requisition number or confirmation number, whatever they call it. What do I do next? Okay, these people can help you to continue on in the process potentially. So career fairs are fantastic and should definitely be planning to attend them. That is pretty much everything that I was going to go over today. So I'm going to go to this last slide. I believe Meredith has probably dropped everything in there by now for you. Thank you so much for joining today. Please do reach out to us. Our alumni, so hopefully you guys have paid attention. I've said alumni when I also said students. Our alumni, so if you've completed a program with us, you're an alum, have lifetime career services eligibility. So that means career link, our virtual career fairs, working with a coach, whatever. If you have completed a program at AMU or APU, you do have lifetime career services eligibility. So please do reach out to us no matter how many years go by. Okay. All right. So I did mention that we do have some other events coming up, so I shameless plug for that. My Crafting Your Best Federal Resume one is going to be on the 18th at noon Eastern Time. We have some other group coaching sessions that are coming up. We have one on teaching, which is going to be wonderful for those of you interested in teaching. We also have 2 coming up on IT and cyber. So if that is your jam, those are also coming up. Those are on the 19th. And our virtual career fair prep session, which I also highly recommend you attend for that March 5th virtual career fair. That prep session is going to be on February 26th. Okay. And all of these you can find where the events page of CareerLink. So please go check it out, register for it, reach out to us if you have any questions about anything. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop here and go check on our chat situation. Meredith, how are we doing with that?
Well, we've had a lot of interaction in the chat.
Awesome.
Thank you, Shayna, for providing all those extra great tips, as well as Patrick on that tip about how military does get that 1 year free with LinkedIn. And then
Awesome.
Patrick did just ask a question, right? How soon prior to end of enlistment should a member begin applying for jobs?
That is a good question. I don't believe that there is a standard answer. But what you have to consider is how soon would you be available to be hired and onboarded? So that's definitely something you have to look at. Some job announcements will say that they have a timeline. Most of them don't. But think about that. How soon can you be onboarded, spun up with the whole thing? Generally, several months out, I would say, and so long as you are honest with them from the get-go, they can usually plan for that. At our virtual career fairs, when they come, they know that, especially this one, the Employing Those Who Serve, they're coming here specifically to talk to military touched people. So they know, yes, you might not be getting out in March. Okay. But also, when you do start that conversation, let them know that, hi, my name's Dave, and I'm transitioning September 1 of 2025. and then continue. Does that answer it for you? Let's see. I'm going through the chats. Meredith, did you see any
That was
more?
the only question. Like I said, we had some great comments. That was the only question so far. So if anyone has more, feel free to put in the chat or unmute at this time.
That's right. Yes. Raise a hand. Let me know. All right, I'm still going through the chat. All right, I don't see, where's the link to upcoming sessions? Okay, so that would be, you went into CareerLink to register for this one. It's in there under the events tab. Sorry, the events is under the community tab or connect. Sorry, connect. I know what I'm talking about, I promise. Yeah, so the events are under the connect tab, and that's where you would go and register for those. There you are. See, Meredith's on it. She's already got the link up for you and everything. All right, anybody else? I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes. Okay, so we have a question. You mentioned utilizing AI assistance for resumes. Will that get flagged or frowned upon by employers? It seems like AI has been getting a bad rap. It's a very good question. I'm glad that you asked that. Don't use AI to write your whole resume. If you need help with parts of it, you can use AI as suggestions, okay? Still make it sound like you so that you don't have there's a voice to your resume. And those of us who read them all the time, we get familiar with your voice very, very quickly. So if you had just this one random bullet point in there that was suddenly superfluously awesome in a way that didn't sound like you to begin with, it's obvious, okay? So use it judiciously, use it as a reference, use it as help, but don't write your whole resume with it. Okay. And make sure to go back and make sure that the details, and sometimes even AI, because it's new, it can make mistakes, right? So make sure that it didn't come up with a suggestion that you couldn't stand behind also. Okay. Because then you're going to look like a liar. So that's another reason to be very careful with AI. Don't just put it in there and run out the door with it and without having reviewed it. Okay, so yes, you can use AI as a tool, but don't use it as instead of me learning how to do this or instead of me putting in the effort to tell my story and relay my experience and put my details in here. It's similar to why it's not really a great idea to pay somebody to write your resume for you, is because they can't possibly know what you know. You rather would either write it yourself or work with a coach so that we can get those details out of you and help you to put that information in a way that is appealing to employers. Did that answer your question? Perfect. Okay, lovely. I'm glad. And wait, see if there's any more. So I'll hang out since we did come in under time. I will hang out for the next 5 minutes if anybody thinks of something they want to ask, either on topic or related. Yes, the suggestion. There are many free services and resources for military, so please use them before paying someone. 100%. Please, okay? There's so many free things out there. Please use those. I mean, be judicious. If it looks like a suspect website and things are misspelled and things, be smart about it. But there are organizations, there are, websites, there is so much that is free to the military community. Yes, please try to get something for free before paying for it. You're very welcome. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? Is there something that maybe I touched on and can go into further detail for you? Do we need to include VA disabilities with our resume? I may need a little bit more information from you because it does depend on exactly what you mean by that, but I'm going to start answering, and then if I'm going the wrong direction, let me know. Okay. Assuming that you were talking about the VA letter proving that you have a disability and stuff like that, that is commonly asked for with federal hiring when you are claiming veterans preference at, the higher preferences, the disabled veterans and stuff like that. So if you are going to claim that preference, then yes, you have to submit that because you have to prove it, right? You have to submit whatever it is that the job opportunity announcement is asking for proof of that. Okay. All right. Yes. Yes. Okay. So it seems I was answering the question, just the percentage that we get when we get out. Yes. So federal hiring where you need to prove it and you need to get the letter and, all of that. And yes, I can be this veteran that is, gets 10 points instead of 5, but that's where you would include it. Private sector, though, I wouldn't do it. Private sector, because you aren't using it for a additional consideration like, like veterans hiring preferences. When we're talking out more in the private sector, when you're not doing that, then it's more about, do you want to disclose? And that is definitely much more individual. All right, got a couple more minutes in case anybody thinks of anything. I see most people are signing off. We still have a couple more, so I'm going to hang out just in case you guys think of anything. But if not, everybody have a good day. Thank you. I'm very glad to hear that. Please reach out to us if you have any other questions or you want to work on something. It's never too early to start working with career services. So anytime. All right, one more minute. We have one more guy in here. Okay. Do you think aligning with recruiters is a must? No. Okay. And again, assuming that I understand where you're coming from. So if I'm not getting to the point that you're trying to get to, please let me know. Aligning with recruiters. So following recruiters, making connections and stuff like that. No, it's not a must. It's going to help. And that again is growing the network, mingling with different people. Even on LinkedIn, it'll suggest people for you to connect with, and recruiters have lots of connections. So if you were connected with a recruiter, LinkedIn could then suggest more people for you who are probably at the employer you want and or in the industry you want. So it's very helpful, but no, it's not required. You don't have to. You don't have to. Did that answer it for you? Did you have something else? Okay, yes. So the market is very saturated right now. That is definitely something we've talked about here. Opportunities are very narrow right now. That is the market right now. And so hopefully, in the near future, it opens up more. But yes, that's where we're at right now. Things are very tight. I want to say, I saw something the other day. There's 1.1 jobs for every one person searching, whereas it used to be 2 or more, or something like that. Okay. Um, the market is narrow. It is saturated. However, and whichever, in coaching, when we have somebody tell us I apply a lot and I'm not getting any traction, we do want to check out their resume to make sure that there isn't something that you're doing that you could be doing better. Can we polish it up for you? Are you using the wrong format? Are you mentioning something that you think sounds positive, but from an employment perspective, it could cause a question? Okay. So I would encourage you to also maybe have one of us look at your resume to make sure that there aren't opportunities for you to be able to improve something there. Okay. But assuming it's not, that that's not the case, yes, the market is very saturated right now. Do you have any other questions? You're welcome. All right. If you can't think of anything else, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for today, but do reach out to us if something else comes up that you think of, okay? All right. Thank you for being here. I hope that you found this informative, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, Zoom, why are you not working for me?